Away from Rivers to Ondo State, where the Deputy Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has assumed office as the acting governor of the state. He addressed a statewide broadcast calling on residents to be united and pray for the restoration of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. Our correspondent Ayodeji Moradeyo has more.
After 3 months of political imbroglio occasioned by the long absence of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, the Deputy Governor has officially assumed duty as governor in acting capacity. This came a day after the State House of Assembly acknowledged the letter sent to it by the governor. The acting governor in a state broadcast said the intrigues that ensued due to Governor Akeredolu's health challenges were avoidable distractions. He said that it was time for the state to return quickly to the path of accelerated progress that has eluded it in the last few months.
A moment for us to really appreciate the collective burden of moving our state forward. The events of the past months have indeed challenged our love for our state and indeed democracy, which we all profess. At no time in our history has unity among our people been so vital as it is at the present time. Unity of purpose, unity of effort, and unity of spirit, which are all essential to accomplish the task before us.
Mr. Aiyedatiwa promised to work with members of the cabinet to bring rapid development to the state. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Akure.
Joining me on the news to discuss the situation in Ondo State is the Secretary of the Ondo Redemption Front, Olufemi Lawson. Thank you for joining us. Well, as an Ondo State citizen, are you comfortable with the resolution to transmit power to Lucky Aiyedatiwa as the acting governor?
Good evening, and thanks for having me. It is pleasing to, of course, see this resolution coming aftermath of a series of clarion call by patriotic citizens of Ondo State, and we must most particularly recognize the role played by President Bola Tinubu in cautioning political actors in Ondo State to toe the path of constitutionality. Because what was witnessed in Ondo State in the last 6 months was a situation where a very few people took advantage of the unfortunate ill health of Governor Akeredolu to hold governance in the state hostage. And thankfully, this got to the height of it when people of Ondo State of all ages and groups began to speak against the continued absence of leadership in Ondo State. And ultimately, when President Bola Tinubu had to come in and, of course, call to order these political actors, many of whom were non-state actors that were behind the political crisis in Ondo State. So it's a very commendable development, and I think it's an opportunity for the people of Ondo State to once again enjoy leadership which they have voted for in Governor Rotimi Akeredolu and his deputy, Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa.
Mr. Lawson, you have commended the president for his intervention in this matter, and we know the role that your group, just like others, is actually playing over this issue. But some would argue that the president needs not intervene before these issues are resolved because they are considered to be purely constitutional issues. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree absolutely, and that was our position. And even before the president's intervention, our own organization has taken the Ondo State Assembly to court to set up a medical board to determine if Governor Akeredolu is still having the capacity to continue as governor, considering the fact that since September 7 that he was ferried back into the country, he was never seen on the soil of Ondo State, he never spoke to the people of Ondo State, there was no sort of existence of the governor in Ondo State. But and we have continued to alert the public that we must not allow a vacuum in leadership in Ondo State, because even while the governor claimed to have resumed, in his absence, the deputy was not allowed to perform the functions of his office by these very few people who held, Governor Akeredolu hostage wherever they may have done. So, ordinarily, the president has no business in calling people who should ordinarily follow the constitution that they have sworn to uphold to order. But because we are approaching a state of anarchy where people who have no mandate of the people of Ondo State, were in charge of the treasury of Ondo State, were controlling governance in Ondo State, and it was tending towards anarchy. And that is why we cannot but appreciate the intervention of the president at that point, because these people became so disobedient to the constitution, to the law, despite the outcry by people, including elder statesmen, led by Paruben Fashion-Roti, the leader of Anifere. So it became inevitable for the president to intervene, even though it was unnecessary in the first place.
All right, then. Olufemi Lawson is the Secretary, Ondo Redemption Front. Thank you so much for talking to us on TVC News at 7.
It's my pleasure.